Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway. Their pharmacists are here to help, offering a wide range of vaccines including flu, COVID, pneumonia, and RSV immunizations. Visit your local Safeway or schedule online at safeway.com/pharmacy.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org.
You might already be hearing the sizzle or even smelling the scent in the air. The Chile and Frijoles Festival is happening this weekend with hot air balloons, with eating contests, and of course with lots and lots of chilies. It all starts today in Pueblo and goes through Sunday. I'm Arlo Pérez Esquivel. Coming up, you'll hear the scene at a vigil for Charlie Kirk in Fort Collins, where he had been scheduled to speak last night. How's his death impacting free speech?
With the most public assassination of our generation, we thought that this would really be the right time for us to step up in some capacity and try to foster another space for this to continue.
Then, wildland firefighters are getting sick, what the Trump administration plans to do to protect them, and why Trump is creating a new fire agency.
It offers a hope for some fundamental change in federal fire management. We desperately need that.
Plus, a fresh tune to kick off your weekend.
I love puns. I love witty lyrics. That's what I'm in it for, is just to make people think or smile.
It's Friday, September 19th. Here's the news in Colorado today. The conservative advocacy group Turning Point USA held a vigil last night in Fort Collins for its late founder, Charlie Kirk.
If we could have a moment of silence, take out your phones, turn on your flashlights, and we'll light some candles up here and let's pray to God and remember Charlie.
Kirk had originally been scheduled to host his famed Prove Me Wrong debate for him at the same site, CU's Canvas Stadium. But as we know, before he could make it there, he was fatally shot at Utah Valley University. Turning Point canceled the debate, and instead about 7,500 people turned up for the vigil. The crowd of people wore red Make America Great Again hats and white caps with the number 47 on them, in honor of President Trump, who was friends with Kirk. Conservative author Will Witt addressed the crowd.
How do we best take our vengeance for these people who hate us, who want to see us dead? We do it through the way we live. We do it through faith. We do it through courage. We do it through hope, through strength. Every single day we wake up and say, how can I live a little bit more like Charlie?
The Republican former CU regent Heidi Ganahl also spoke. She has advocated for more conservative voices on college campuses, and last night she called on people in the crowd to open a Turning Point USA chapter at every college and high school across the country.
So I want everybody to go on the Turning Point website tonight, crash the website, to get involved and sign up. Whether you're a parent, a grandparent, a student, there's tons of ways to engage. We're going to need an army of
Lots of law enforcement stood guard at the vigil. Officers from local police and the sheriff's office lined nearby streets. Some rode on horseback in front of the stadium. Nico Marquillo graduated from CSU in May. He didn't agree with everything that Kirk said, but he showed up because he connected with Kirk's Christian views.
This kind of thing divides a lot of people. I honestly just pray on it. I just hope that people can find a way to use this to come together, and especially on the Republican Party, not choose to resort in violence and retaliate in ways. I mean, God wants us to be righteous, but what's the point of being righteous if you can't do it in the face of evil?
A group of local motorcyclists organized the memorial ride to the stadium.
Wasn't necessarily a follower of his, didn't agree with everything he said, but I don't know, it was shocking.
Horrified by Kirk's killing, Erin Gringer rode her bike in support of free speech.
And everyone should be able to exercise that right safely. And the hate that's followed afterwards, I feel like, is even a bigger motivation to kind of see this through. Like, he always did it peacefully.
Also part of the memorial ride, Brandon, who declined to give us his last name.
I personally am not very political. I have viewpoints on both sides, but I think that this was a situation where somebody who was going around and stating his opinions and giving people a platform to challenge him on those opinions.
Supporters and organizers in Fort Collins struck a cooler tone than some of the tense rhetoric heard on the national level. That includes Victoria Duskotch, who helps lead CSU's bipartisan political science club, the Political Review, which had been scheduled to participate in the Turning Point debate before the assassination.
We believe in the idea of free speech, political dialogue, and being able to have conversations with those that you disagree with.
In the wake of Kirk's death, some federal officials say that they'll crack down on people who make comments that they view as too critical of Kirk. ABC pulled the late-night talk show Jimmy Kimmel Live off air, and President Trump suggested that the Federal Communications Commission re-examine broadcast licenses of networks that give him, quote, only bad publicity or press. Still, the Political Review Club at CSU hosted an event immediately after the Vigil last night, titled For Free Speech Against Political Violence.
With the most public assassination of our generation, we thought that this would really be the right time for us to step up in some capacity and try to foster, another space for this to continue.
And Turning Point announced yesterday that Charlie Kirk's widow, Erica, will lead the group going forward. The Trump administration is trying to improve ways we manage wildfires. It's creating a new agency to consolidate resources, that is to say, the staff and the money that is spread out among a bunch of different federal agencies. And it wants to do more to protect firefighters' health. Murphy Woodhouse is a former wildland firefighter who's now a reporter for Boise State Public Radio. Murphy, thanks for joining us. I want to talk about the health piece first. This new Trump administration memo includes guidance to protect firefighters from the toxins that they encounter on the job. Why is that needed?
Yeah, so what these two memos from the Agriculture and Interior Secretaries talk about is the need to, quote, modernize standards for personal protective equipment to ensure the long-term health and safety of wildland firefighters. They don't make any specific gear recommendations, nothing like that, but they do give themselves a 270-day deadline to come up with recommendations to address these issues. And these issues have been getting a lot more attention, and I think quite deserved and welcome attention in the wake of a series of reports from the New York Times painting a dire picture of what it called an occupational health crisis. The vast majority of wildland firefighters endure uninterrupted weeks of exposure to smoke and other toxins with quite literally no respiratory protection of any kind. Sometimes you'll see folks with bandanas over their mouths, but that might not be doing that much. So I reported late last year on new research that shows that wildland firefighters are exposed to a minimum of 31 carcinogens on the fire line. Wow. And let's hear from Tyson Bertoni-Riggs, and he's the leader of Alliance for Wildfire Resilience. And this is what he had to say about these health elements of these memos from the Trump administration.
I think the direction to modernize standards for personal protective equipment is a huge change, especially in light of recent reporting on the health impacts of smoke to wildland firefighters.
This is perhaps the first of hopefully many more steps to start addressing this very long-standing issue. And so, this is of course an issue that's also very personally significant to me. You work in the smoke, you sleep in the smoke. Smoke is just quite literally the air that you breathe. And so that's why I enrolled in the National Firefighter Registry for Cancer a little over 2 years ago, and that very recently became the single largest study of the cancer firefighting connection. And I share that to say that the problem is very real and serious, but as with this mask question, it does seem that we are seeing some movement on this front.
Honestly, that is shocking to me, the idea that you don't have respiratory protection of any kind. I want to go back to the broader goal of the Trump administration. It wants to make firefighting more efficient. What is it about the current system that they find inefficient?
Yeah, so this idea of consolidation, this is not coming from nowhere. Lots of people in fire for many, many years, many decades even, have talked about having a single unitary federal agency tasked with fighting wildland fires. I mean, the basic federal system right now is Interior has 4 separate agencies that have firefighting responsibilities, and the USDA has the Forest Service, which employs the single largest number of federal wildland firefighters. So 5 agencies, 2 departments. I mean, just right there, you can kind of start to see, okay, that seems fairly wonky. All of that can have a lot of impacts, including delays in reimbursing local and state authorities for fire response work.
I want to examine that word a little bit more, consolidation, as Trump has called it. Could that mean cutting back overall the amount of resources and people that are available to fight wildfires? Like, isn't consolidation sometimes a code word for layoffs?
Certainly, the concern you just articulated is one that Tim Inglesby shares, and he's the head of what's called the Firefighters United for Safety, Ethics, and Ecology. Let's hear from him real quick.
It seemed from the outset that consolidation was just a means of further downsizing the wildland fire workforce and shrinking the budget for federal fire management.
This is obviously not an idle concern. We have seen major departures from these agencies in recent months.
Okay, so those are the concerns about consolidation. Are there any other concerns about these new federal directives and how they'll affect the management of wildfires?
Absolutely. And so Tim is very much a critic or a skeptic of some of these proposals, but let's hear something that he said that I think is kind of a double-edged sword.
It offers a hope for some fundamental change in federal fire management, particularly within the U.S. Forest Service. Everyone wants to see that. We desperately need that.
So, I mean, he thinks that, like, if things were to be ultimately consolidated, you basically just have kind of one big ship to turn, as opposed to 5 big ships between 2 departments. And the direction he'd like to see things go in is one where there's just a growing chorus from land managers and scientists about the need to put so much more beneficial fire on the ground, things like prescribed fire, the cultural burning practices of indigenous people. And so he doesn't see any indication that that's like kind of the direction here and is concerned by that. But at the same time, he kind of does see, you know, if you do have things kind of collapsed into a single agency, maybe that's an easier ship to kind of turn in a direction that scientists and land managers and many people think that we need to be moving in.
Yeah, quite literally fighting fire with fire. Murphy Woodhouse of Boise State Public Radio and the Mountain West News Bureau. Thank you for joining us.
It was a pleasure. Thanks a lot.
Hey, it's Friday. It's been a rough couple of weeks in the news, so we thought, why not send you off to the weekend with a lift? Here's a song from a musician in Littleton. It's called Run the Numbers.
And 3, 2, 1, play. I really wanted the song to layer, to introduce one new element at a time. My name is Conrad Matha. I make music that is a fusion of hip-hop and Latin. That's where my roots are. My family comes from Mexico, but I grew up mostly in Colorado. I really value risk and chaos and energy within music. This is my dance break. Every time I would listen to this part, I would go crazy. I love the kazoo solo. That's what some people call it, a kazoo solo. My songs are like journals of periods of my life. I just had the line, can you run the numbers? Because I felt in general in my life that things weren't adding up. By the way, I pranked you. What could ever make you think that I would ever date you? Also, I ran across some people that felt like they were all talk. They would say one thing, but their actions would point towards another. Those are some of my favorite lyrics. The pun about hypotenuse. Would you give me that? Thank you. This line here, that vocal, that's my dad. That's mad disrespectful. It's really special to me.
Conrad Mata and a little bit of his dad. Thanks to Bozzy for putting that together, and to our friends at Indie 1023 for tipping us off to Conrad. You can find his song, Run the Numbers, on nearly all streaming music platforms, and we have a link to Conrad's website in our show notes. Reporting for today's show also came from CPR's Tony Gorman, Molly Cruz, and Sandy Butulga. Thank you for listening, and have a great weekend. I'm Arlo Perez Esquivel. This is CPR News.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway. Their pharmacists are here to help, offering a wide range of vaccines including flu, COVID, pneumonia, and RSV immunizations. Visit your local Safeway or schedule online at safeway.com/pharmacy.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org.